think I'm live. Yeah. Okay, cool. Happy Saturday and congratulations on making it to week 3. I'm proud of all of you for getting this far. Again, I know we've only had one class face-to-face, but again, I love your posts and I love the interaction between you guys and just, keeping me in the loop with your workouts and just staying consistent and just persevering, because I know all of you have many other things that you could be doing or that pop up, during this time, during these 12 weeks. I totally understand. However, you guys have been great about, adjusting yourselves and just sticking it out. And as your coach, I'm telling you, you guys are like the best group. I'm so thankful for all of you. And I can't wait to see you physically this next weekend. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into week 3. I'll try to make this video as short as possible because, again, I know you guys have lives and I know you have stuff that you're doing this weekend. So week 3 is going to be, the theme of this week is called My Faith in Running Saved Me. So the main story is, my faith in running saved me, but before I share my story, I have to be honest. Running is not always good to me. I will never forget my experiences running in junior high and high school. For me, it was always pure agony. I would instantly get shin splints. I believe that some people were simply not designed to run, and I was one of them. But something changed for me in 2010. It began in 2010 when I went to pick up a prescription at my local drugstore. As I waited for the prescription to be filled, I noticed a small chair and an arm cuff that measured blood pressure. I had never measured my blood pressure before, so I gave it a try. I remember asking the pharmacist if something was wrong with the machine when it stated my blood pressure was in the contact a doctor now zone. Long story short, I was placed on blood pressure medication and told I would probably have to take it the rest of my life. My doctor also suggested I lose some weight. At 225 pounds, I never thought I was out of shape. But I took the doctor's suggestion as a challenge. I immediately changed my eating habits, bought a treadmill, and started walking every day. I didn't stop walking for 18 months. You might recall that scene in the movie Forrest Gump where he started running one day and simply never stopped. Sorry, I have to laugh because I love that movie. That was me on a treadmill. If I didn't log 30 minutes or more on the treadmill every day, I would not feel good. On October 6th of 2011, I lost my job. I was a C-level executive working for a very successful company when a private equity group acquired us. A new CEO meant new management team. My daily prayers included a request that God would point me to where he wanted me to go. And I never let my faith be diminished. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength, and they shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not be faint. That verse is found from Isaiah 40, verses 30 and 31. As weeks of looking for a job turned into months and months turned into a year, I recognized that I was becoming my own worst enemy. I was going through the full gamut of human emotions, including doubt, frustration, anger, and depression. I felt like a broken cog not fitting into society. I know personally I have totally been here. I remember before, just a quick pause, I remember before I found the current career that I have now, I was in a very similar situation. In fact, I felt pretty low. It's probably one of the darkest times in my life. So I could totally relate to that. And I'm not sure if you can, but I feel like we've all been there at some point, right? So I felt everyone around me was on a fast-paced conveyor belt moving forward, and I had fallen off, never to get back on. No temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. And that's from 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 13. This passage provided me optimism. I decided to put a new focus on my walking and set new physical challenges. What I like about this story is that even in the most darkest, most unsure moments of his life, he moved his body. I could tell you again, when I started weightlifting and started running, right, I was going through some pretty dark times. And I know that just getting out, even if it was for 15 minutes, I remember there were times when I was training in Jada's hospital room, doing air squats and, wall push-ups or, whatever I could, or doing laps around the hospital with her just so that I could get my body moving so that I could, focus on something other than my current situation. So I think that it's interesting that he would throw that in there. Moving on. God has blessed me with good physical health, and physical exercise gave me motivation to reach my goals, while reading the Bible kept me calm with circumstances. During my first day of unemployment, I woke up with this at the same time I always did. I told myself I would continue to do this despite having nowhere to go. I figured, why break my early morning routine of walking? But our treadmill was located in our master bedroom, and my wife has never shared my passion for early morning wake-ups. It was 5 a.m., and that's when I had an epiphany. Why not go outside and walk? What a concept. Why hadn't I thought of this before? My daily walks turned into 5 and 6 mile jaunts. I had another epiphany. If I could run instead of walk, I could complete my workout in half the time. So in January of 2012, I was visiting my mom who lives in the Southwest. On a brisk but beautiful early morning day, I was walking towards an intersection light in the distance and wondered if I could run to that light without stopping. I did. Once past the light, I picked out another and then another. I know I've done this personally. I'll use lights, I'll use stop signs, whatever keeps me motivated. So if you find yourself struggling or, trying to push yourself and you need motivation, I'm telling you, do that. It'll help. Once past the light, I picked out another and then another. Before I realized what happened, I had turned around and ran all the way back to my mom's house. I jumped in the car and drove to the route I had just run to see what the distance was. I was in total disbelief. I ran almost 2 miles without stopping. This was life-changing for me. With a newfound confidence and the spirit of an Olympian, I naturally set my sights on the Atlanta Peachtree road race. Why not? I lived in Atlanta since 1991 and had watched this race on television for many years. For those who are not familiar with the Peachtree Road Race, it's one of the largest 10K races in the U.S., with 60,000 runners participating. 60,000! That's a lot. It has become a traditional July 4th event in Atlanta since 1970. I showed up on race day, July 4th, 2012, not knowing anything about running in an organized race environment. God bless his soul. I was doing this solo, but I loved the challenge. I could not have imagined what I was about to experience as I walked upon the scene at the staging area about 2 hours early. The entire scene was almost a sensory overload, with loudspeakers playing patriotic songs, tens of thousands of participants and spectators everywhere, helicopters in the sky, banners flying, and the emotions of everyone around me almost palpable. This was so much better than watching from a couch at home. I decided instantly I would do this each and every year. I will tell you, I know those of you that, if you've ever ran a 5K, especially your first one, it's a monumental moment, especially once not only do you realize that you have completed something for 12 weeks, you've trained yourself for 12 weeks, you literally go from couch potato to athlete in 12 weeks. That's mind-blowing. But then to up the ante, you're literally in the middle of all this. And he's absolutely right. There's loudspeakers, there's hundreds of people around. You could just feel the energy from people. It's incredible. And then, you're running side by side next to people. I mean, there's going to be people around you. So if you're wondering what it's going to be like, I'm telling you, it's one of the coolest experiences, probably ever. And it's so awesome. And then not only that, but to add to it, when you cross the finish line of your first 5K, it's such an emotional and intense moment. And I'm telling you, as your coach, I can't wait to experience this with you guys, especially for those that have never done this before. So I'm really excited. Okay, sorry, moving on. One of the things each of us learns as we get older is that our health is one of the greatest treasures God grants us. Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own? For you were bought at a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. and that's 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 19 through 20. I have lost too many family members, friends, and co-workers to take life and my health for granted. Running has given me my confidence in my life when I needed it the most. It has provided me a platform to compete against my own personal goals. What other sport gives you the opportunity to come together with like-minded people, each competing in their own race together and getting the reward of crossing a finish line with people cheering you on as if you were an Olympian competing for gold? Now I run 5 to 6 miles 3 to 4 times a week. I have shed 50 pounds. I run in the top 10% of my age bracket. I am once again a C-level executive. I love running. I love God. God is truly awesome. And that's from Steve Holbrook from Georgia. So just to recap. So the 3 scriptures that we discussed during this story is Isaiah chapter 40, verses 30 and 31. The second is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 13. And then the third is 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 19 through 20. So one more time, Isaiah chapter 40, verses 30 through 31. The second is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. And then the third is 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 19 and 20. So there's a couple things that I want you guys to ponder on and really think about and meditate and pray on this week. And so the first one would be, have you experienced some moments of weakness when you needed God's strength? I can definitely say yes on more. I have to say yes on more times than I could probably ever say no. This is a daily thing for me. I don't know about you personally, but just really take some time to think about that. When are some moments, either now, currently, or even in the past, that you've really had some weaknesses and you really needed God to like come down and just help you through from moment to moment? Think about those. The second thing I want you to ponder is, have these experiences caused discouragement and kept you from meeting your goals? And if so, what did you do? If they're in the past, what did you do to get past them? And if you're currently going through them, what I want you to do is really focus on, just like this gentleman did, right? So he's without a job. Almost a year goes by. He's without a job. He's feeling desperate. I'm pretty sure his bills were far behind. I don't know if this dude has a family or if he was about to lose his family or get divorced or whatever. So worst case scenario, right? But instead of focusing on the circumstance, he focused on moving his body and just believing God to work it out, right? So think about those things. So if you're currently in a situation where, again, you're feeling discouraged or you're not necessarily meeting your goals, instead of beating yourself up and letting the enemy win on that one, again, use this running time, use those 3 workouts that we have a week to really use that as you and God time. I know you guys work at the Dream Center and you guys give of yourself all the time. But this is, like I said, in the very first class that we had, this is your opportunity to pour back into your life and into yourself. Y'all, you can't pour from an empty cup. You guys give of yourself all day. And as a mother, as a coach, as a mentor, I know firsthand experience. I had to learn the hard way. You cannot pour into other people if you're not filling your own cup, right? So think about that this week. The third thing I want you to ponder is, how are you honoring God with your body? Again, I'm not asking for you guys to do a complete overhaul, right? We'll do it little bit by little bit. I know some of you are overachievers, and I'm smiling because I know, like, when I first did this, I want to just go all gung-ho. But that doesn't make lasting results in your life. We all know that, right? This is not a get slim quick deal. This is, you take it day by day. Not only that, but you honor God just by doing that, right? Taking it step by step. So whether it's saying no to cookies, or your favorite snack food that's probably not so healthy, or maybe it's walking an extra 5 minutes, or maybe it's praying for an extra 5 minutes. Whatever you're doing, think about ways that you're honoring God with your body this week. Okay, so the third piece of class today is going to be education. So we're going to go over some gear. this is, again, this is kind of where I tailor it to Phoenix people, right? So there's going to be some discussion when you guys get your book, which, by the way, I need to publicly apologize to you guys. So I was supposed to drop off the books. I haven't, but I'll give them to you guys when you come to class next week. So that's no big deal. So yeah, you'll see in the book that they talk about gear, and obviously there's some of these things that are talking about like winter gear. We don't have to deal with that. We got like fall and like summer. That's the seasons we have. So really, you guys really know as far as when it comes to gear. I told you like shoes are number one. We'll still meet at Roadrunner. Clothing, especially as we get into the, now that we're into spring and moving into summer, we need to really be mindful of just like clothing, right? So you want to do lightweight clothing. You don't want to overheat, stay hydrated. I mean, sunscreen and sunglasses that don't fall off your face if you're trying to run. That's really it. I mean, that's all we really require. Another thing is, and again, this might be TMI, but let's talk about it. So those of us that have thicker thighs, okay, let's be real here. Sometimes, especially if you're running, more than a mile, there might be what's called chafing, right? Which is where there's friction between skin. They have, real cheap stuff that you can get on Amazon that helps. It looks like a deodorant stick. Also, if you run out of that, I've used deodorant before too, so that works. So if you do have, extra padding on your body and you realize that there's areas that you might have some extra friction, especially after you, start upping your mileage as you're running, you could always use that as something to help you out. Winter clothing, again, I mean, unless you're running in cold weather, you'd have to, decide whether a long sleeve t-shirt or windbreakers would be needed, sweatshirts, jackets. And if you are going to go that route, or if you're going to be traveling to somewhere that requires you to wear these things, make sure that they're breathable, because you got to remember, like, even though it may be cold, your body's going to heat up. And so you don't want to cool off too fast, especially in the cold. You don't want to get sick, right? But at the same time, you have to have like the wicking type material so that it can pull off of your skin so that you can cool off faster too. So again, all that stuff is going to be in your student manual. Headwear, if you don't like sweat dripping down your face, or there's like sun visors, especially in the sun. There's headbands you could wear. Also, for those of you, this is another piece of important information. So those of you that may have, high risk of like shin splints or plantar fasciitis, or even if you're susceptible to like veins, right? Like bulging veins in your legs, I do highly recommend getting a pair of compression socks. Or if you notice that like you sit down all day, and then you go to run, like you don't want to bust, veins in your legs, right? Especially if you might be, or if you tend to be a little overweight, which it happens, right? And even if you're not underweight, you can use them too. So there's compression wear. So now they have compression sleeves. And what it is the compression actually, so it's tight, it's supposed to be tight. And what it does is it's restricting a little bit. So it makes your blood, your heart work just a little bit harder so that the blood flow can actually go to those areas. So especially if you have issues with your legs, like I said, these are great because again, it gets that blood flowing. But it also helps and it gives you like additional support. So I definitely recommend that. You can get really cheap, really good compression socks on Amazon. You can buy them from running stores, but they're a little bit more expensive. So I caution on that side, especially if you're trying to save a few bucks. I'm all about a deal. So there's that. Socks are another important thing. Do not wear cotton socks. Or you're going to have blisters for days. When you're running, you really need to get synthetic material. The reason is because they're designed for running, right? So just like the wicking material that you have for like shirts and shorts, right? They have those in socks. So do not wear 100% cotton. It's the worst thing you can do. definitely get a synthetic material, which again, it'll keep your feet dry and prevent blisters. And we definitely don't want you getting blisters if you don't need to. Undergarments, kind of the same thing. Make sure that they're breathable, right? To make sure that you're keeping everything good, legit, and healthy, right? Layering, again, it's good to have layers, especially if it's a little bit nipply in the morning, you know, so a little cold in the morning. You know, if it's cold at first and you haven't gotten your body warm, you want to, of course, keep your core temperature warm, right? But then you are able to take those layers off as you heat up or if you start working out. So there's that. Technology. I told you guys before, I know the first class, some of you didn't bring headphones. I am not going to be offended. In fact, I highly recommend you all bringing like headphones or so you can jam out. I know me, I personally don't like to hear myself breathing really heavy when I'm running. It drives me insane. So I have to have headphones or I have to have some kind of music to distract me. And what it is again, I don't know if it's ADHD, whatever. It's kind of like, it helps me actually think better. But that's me. So if that's always an option. You could do the Apple Watches, the MP3 players, heart rate monitors, GPS. Again, we have all that. Again, I mentioned earlier, sunscreen. Sunscreen is important. Sunglasses. If those of you that are running at night, especially in your guys' area, again, just make sure that you're always visible to people. I have a couple running vests, so if you guys need to borrow them, just let me know when I see you next time. Make sure you're always staying hydrated. Foam rollers, we talked about that. We went over that. I highly recommend you getting a foam roller. They're super cheap on Amazon. You can get them for like 10 bucks. You don't have to get the long one like I have. You can get a smaller one. It doesn't have to have all the fancy knobs on them. Just get a regular foam roller and you can start with that. So I highly recommend that. Pain relief. Again, talk to your doctor first. However, as long as it's okay with your doctor, there are non-steroid like anti-inflammatories that could be used, such as like ibuprofen. But again, I'm not a doctor and I highly recommend you checking with your doctor first before taking any kind of medication, especially if you're taking other medications that might interfere with that. But that is an option. If you're doing like a natural type anti-inflammatory, turmeric's really good. There's like Pinterest that you can look up, ginger. There's all kinds of homeopathic type stuff you can look online, so definitely look into that. Publications. So in addition to reading the Run for God book, obviously reading your Bible every day, that's key. I encourage you guys to, you know, read like Runner's World or whatever. Like keep those things around you. Like keep those visible reminders around you. So like, you know, Google or, you know, research just like running magazines and whatnot. So again, it just keeps you kind of in the flow of things. Need versus want. So how much of this stuff do you really need? Again, I'm not asking for you guys to like go all crazy. You know, again, these are suggestions. It's not requirements. All I'm asking is that you get a good, decent pair of shoes. You have your faith, obviously, the willingness to learn, and then whatever, your phone or headphones, like that'll work. We can work around it. These aren't required, but it does make your running a lot easier if you are able to purchase these things. If not, I completely understand, but just know that, again, these aren't requirements. These are just things that might make your run a little bit funner and a little easier. It says the most important gear, which of course the most important tool in your bag ever should be your Bible, and for two reasons. One, encouragement is important, and the Bible is full of verses to help motivate you to keep going, always. And then two, you will meet many new people through running, and many of them may not be Christians, which you guys know about. You guys are very well versed as far as, you know, preaching to people and meeting them where they're at, which is what I love about you guys. And so I don't need to go too much over that. You guys are well versed in that. And then quote of the week, right? So be a Minuteman. The biggest mistake that new runners make is that they tend to think in mile increments. 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles. Beginning runners need to think in minutes, not miles. And that's from Bud Coates, Olympic coach. Say that 10 times fast. So that was cool. All right, so our workout and wrap up of this video. So our our workout, week 3 workout plan. So today will be the 5 minute, always 5 minutes walking, okay, to warm up. Always 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after. I won't kill you guys with that in the beginning. So in between, so you're gonna do 5 minutes to warm up, and then you're gonna alternate 90 seconds of jogging and 2 minutes of walking for 20 minutes, okay? That's workout number 1. Workout number 2 is, again, 5-minute warm-up. Then again, alternate 90 seconds of jogging with 2 minutes of walking for 20 minutes. And then again, cool down with 5. So a total of 30 minutes for workout number 2. Workout number 3 is going to be the same. So it's all the same. So 1, 2, and 3 for this week is going to be one more final time, 5-minute walking warm-up. You're going to alternate 90 seconds of jogging / running, whichever you prefer, and 2 minutes of walking for a total of 20 minutes. At the end of that 20 minutes, you're going to cool down with 5 minutes, which will be a total of 30 minutes. Okay? All right, guys. Well, again, I can't wait to see all of you next week. I'm really excited. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions on how I can make this better for you guys, just let me know. Keep the posts and the text messages coming. I love you guys. I love it. It encourages me as your coach to keep going. And so, again, if you guys need anything in the meantime, you guys got my number. You know where I live. And again, you guys will have your books when you show up to class next week. And I'll see you then. Thank you so much. God bless. Have a great weekend, guys.